Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll just tell Dave about see if he call.
I have Tame, Tori, and Michael in the room with me.
Cool. Hi, gang.
Hi.
The
Hi.
Brits are both here today, so we'll both be teaching. Just a heads up, it's like super informal. I don't have any like agenda. Hi. Where are you guys?
We're at Conshohocken. We're all in scrub clothes because we were here rearranging furniture. Oh, there's an echo.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody probably has like two screens on.
It's me.
I'm so excited to see everyone at the
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yay! And it says it's only supposed to rain in the morning now, so hopefully that holds up.
Awesome. So when you said like BYO chairs and that you'll provide some beverages, does that mean I can bring my own cooler of additional libations? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna provide like water, sodas, and like non-alcoholic seltzers.
Yeah.
Legally, we're not allowed to provide alcohol.
Yeah.
Yes, I get that, but I'm allowed to provide myself alcohol. Yes.
I mean, I plan on filling my water bottle with vodka. So
Okay.
we will provide mixers.
This is being recorded.
Yeah.
We'll just edit that out.
Yeah.
I
I'll talk to Kim. Oh, right. We're recording.
love it. Everybody's just eating their breakfast, hanging out.
Also spreading cream cheese with a fork.
I'm always self-conscious about eating on
I can have
screen.
potatoes.
I don't think you can.
No bread.
You over here.
Potatoes, not
We're
bread.
gonna have potatoes on whole 30.
So what's going on? Catch me up. Andrew, I feel like we haven't gotten a chance to like actually hang out and formally meet each other.
I know, we get to hang out tomorrow.
Am I gonna get drunk tomorrow? Yeah. Am I gonna tell you? Yeah.
How was it last night? Did you guys have fun?
Yeah, we ended up with Frankfurt Hall
And then R&D.
and then R&D. Just hung out. It was a good time.
I was jealous.
Bye.
I was missing out.
Very lipstick, almost strong.
Ew.
It was literally in one of the biggest calls. It could be from Cranberry Juice or something. It was. But do you want a new one?
My straws
But,
Probably just water.
Wait, my hand's red.
Huh?
You okay, tomorrow?
What's happening?
There's other people on. You can start.
yeah. So should we get started? I don't want to keep everybody waiting. I mean, it's only 9 o'clock. We can wait like one more minute, but. Hi, Dana.
Good morning. Thank you so much for doing this. Hey, Britt.
Hi.
Great to
It's
see
like
you.
it's my head in there. It's fine.
Yeah, of course, we're happy to chat and share what we can. We're definitely not experts, but we have a lot of fun, and if I can instill that and share that, then I'll feel accomplished at the end of the day.
Awesome. So guys, feel free to put your cameras on. We don't care if you have bedhead. We know it's early. It just really helps see your faces. If you have questions, please be interactive. You can use the chat box or raise your hand. But we welcome questions, and we hope to really help you guys out and help you learn a little bit of something today.
Right, are you able to share your screen?
Me? I can, but I don't have anything to like formally share. If that's what you're getting at. Okay, bye. Bye to me. Bye.
I think there's a lot of echoing at Conchi, so.
Yeah, we're in the same room, so we're trying to alternate muting. I'll get you host privileges. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah, Dana, if you want to call out any questions too that might pop up in the chat. Don't know if they will, but if they do, just help moderate.
Yeah, no problem.
But yeah, I am going to keep things like super simple, super casual. Feel free to ask questions as we go. I really want to know what everybody wants to learn. So if there's any questions along the way, I will tell you guys, how we got started, how we grew our social media, what we're currently doing today, how we're leveraging help. And then I'll pretty much just open it up to Q&A. That way it's just interactive and I'm really getting you guys the answers to your questions. But with that said, I guess we can get started. So back in, I think it was like 2012, I was a freshman in college and I started blogging. So I kind of entered the social media world a little differently than definitely what we're doing today. I think Instagram was like very new to the world and I didn't quite adopt it. But for about 3 years, I was like steady blogging. My handle was Freckled Nettles once upon a time. That was my previous brand. And over time was just blogging, leveraging social media, getting super engaged in the community, having conversations, doing cross promotions with a lot of bloggers, a concept which a lot of people do today. So then over time, obviously I'm not full-time blogging anymore. We have a full real estate team. I've shared my journey along the way. In I'd say about 2017, I rebranded to She Moves Philly. So just FYI, it's okay to rebrand and change your audience and the message that you're sharing and the career path that you're following. But for me, I went from like blogging and I used to be in the food industry to real estate. So over time, you definitely lose some of your community because you're shifting gears. But I think one thing that I've always done is just be myself, share what I genuinely want to share, interact with people. Engagement is really important. And over time, I've just cultivated a following. We've cultivated a following, and in turn, we've cultivated a community, most of which is here in Philadelphia. We have, followers all around the world. But what we do is we just stay in touch, we engage, we have conversation, and in turn, that actually generates business. So fast forward today, we keep it super simple. We're a very lean team, both on social media and, just in our everyday business. We run things very leanly. Keep it simple is probably my biggest and best motto, and either use it or lose it. I think a common misconception is that you need to have multiple social media platforms to have like a super wide reach, and that's just like not the case. I think quality over quantity is super important to keep in mind. So today we use Facebook, we use Instagram. We'll casually use Twitter for like sharing some articles that are, from NAR or PAR or something super real estate related. But our primary vehicles are Instagram and Facebook. And then of course we have email marketing, which we'll talk about that too. But our strategy on social media is just being genuine, storytelling. I think there are a ton of classes. I'm definitely not an expert in it. So if you guys want to look up storytelling and learn a little bit more about that, definitely do so, because I think the storytelling component is really what differentiates us on social media. We humanize our social media. Who you see on social media is who we are in person. We're silly, we have fun, we post real estate, we post pictures of our dog, we post pictures of our food, everything that we love about the city. And I think in turn, we make it super approachable and easy to, access and engage with. And that's in turn how we've created our community. And over time, just generated so many leads. So I would say, 30% of our business is generated? 33% of our business is generated through social media today. And it's just simply because we are who we are, and we like to act as pillars of the community, just cross promoting as much as we can, sharing relevant topics, not just limited to real estate. We pepper real estate in for sure, but we share relatable things such as, our favorite restaurant. And again, we're a big dog team. So we're constantly sharing pictures of our pets and our family and life milestones and things that are just, beyond the transaction and our practice and trade at the end of the day.
So Brittany, can you share how often are you guys posting? is it daily? And if it's daily, how many times a day? Because I think that consistency is probably something that's important too.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to note. We post probably once a day, if not every other day. Again, quality over quantity is really important to us. If you follow analytics on Instagram, you'll see like when your posts perform best. And for us, we've been posting at 7:30 a.m. or 5 to 5:30 p.m. every night. So check that out if that works for you guys. It definitely works for us with our engagement and our overall reach, how many people that our posts reach. And in turn, again, how many people engage. But that's pretty much the frequency. If you guys want to check out our social media, it's She Moves Philly. You could see everything that we've posted recently.
Why don't you talk about the grid formula?
The grid formula. So we are very mindful about what we post. We don't want to do like many back-to-back, listing posts or photos of the team, although they get like super high engagement levels because I think it's just, showing who we are and people want to see and interact with that. But the grid approach, we like to put like, a picture of food or coffee or a new restaurant that we're trying or a new location in Philly that we've been to. Recently, we started a podcast, so I can talk about that too. But we've been sharing some like of our new podcast announcements and teasers. We love letterboards and we like to have a sense of humor on our social media too. So we'll share silly and quirky letterboards. We'll share properties, which I already mentioned, reviews, client reviews. We did hire some marketing help. So we have a marketing assistant who's helping us curate posts. We provide a lot of the content and she stitches it all together, given the formula that we've kind of trained her to use along the way. But yeah, we keep it pretty consistent as far as the content that we're sharing as well, not just the consistency of the timing, although the two just go hand in hand and they're absolutely intertwined.
We're teaching a class.
Teaching class.
Sorry, right.
Sorry.
Family people trying to cut through the kitchen. You can get coffee, it's fine. Okay. But just to piggyback off of what Brittany was saying is like, we're very formulated on the grid but the stories is kind of like, if we have interesting content throughout the day, we're just posting as we have it. So that's not as calculated and that's a little more free form.
Yeah.
Definitely there's still an aesthetic and a vibe to our voice and the look of our posts and even in our stories. But, we make it a point to really try to promote the whole team in our stories. So if anyone on our team's posting, they're using She Moves Philly, they're tagging She Moves Philly, and then we're reposting a lot of their stuff. So you'll see our stories are part original directly from She Moves Philly and part reposts of everyone else's stuff throughout the day and the week.
Yeah. So they're definitely like everything we do is organic, but there are definitely the more organic things that anything that goes on the grid is a little bit more calculated and pre-planned. But talking about stories, like I know that a lot of people try to use TikTok or Snapchat, and to be completely honest, like I don't really use any of those and have too much knowledge there. So sorry, friends, but I do know that a lot of agents nowadays are like creating reels. They're on Instagram, but creating like TikToks and working on Snapchat. So use what you're comfortable with. Again, I always go back to like use it or lose it. Try not to spread yourself too thin. I think the consistency on the platform that you're using is key too. But with Instagram stories, like I personally love them because you can just post on the fly and go back. It goes back to storytelling. You're telling a story where you're at. You'll see a lot of coffee on my personal Instagram. I typically cross promote any real estate related posts or showing that I'm doing that day. We're able to preview a lot of inventory for just the world too by taking a quick pan of whatever property that we're in real quick and throw it up on Instagram. And again, that generates interest, it generates conversation, and it reminds people constantly that you are the resource and the person that they should think of when they think real estate, right? So just sharing a constant reminder that you're in real estate, whatever that looks like, is something that I try to be mindful of and do at least once a day, whether that's on, our personal social medias. You could follow Britt Moves Philly, Brittany Moves Philly, Monica Moves Philly, like we've all collectively rebranded as a team. So we all go back to the mothership, which is She Moves Philly. that's been successful for us.
I was going to say too, because I imagine there's a lot of newer people on here. We get asked a lot, like, should we have a professional page, a professional handle, and a personal one? I think whatever you can manage is fine. Brittany, when she started She Moves Philly, was just She Moves Philly. There wasn't like a personal Brittany and a She Moves Philly Brittany. And I think that helped build a consistent follower base. And that's part back to what we talk about being like very authentic. We still post the same thing. There isn't a professional side of us and a personal side of us. Of course, we don't share like every minutia of our personal lives, but like you get to see the full picture of what we're doing day to day. And that's just really who we are consistently. That's a choice that we made too. So we show up professionally the same way we do personally to our friends and everything. So you're getting the same person regardless of when you talk to us or what hat we're wearing at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's really has been really integral in building our follower base and building out our brand recognition, and why we probably get so many referrals through social media, because there's not a fake She Moves Philly or professional She Moves Philly and then Brittany. Like we're all the same all the time.
So we try not to force much humanizing, I think, both on social platforms and then in our business transaction are two things that we've just mastered, because it makes us feel good. And I think it goes back to the authenticity and, just being genuine wherever you are. And I think people can sniff that out and see that, and then they subscribe to that at the end of the day. I think it's also worth touching on too, that we do a moves letter. So some of you at the office may or may not have seen that, but it's the She Moves letter. And in that, we not only share like our real estate happenings, but also just Philly happenings and everything in between, what we ate that week, where we've been, ongoing like news, press releases and news articles that are appropriate and relevant. And then we do pepper in our listings, our rentals and things that we have for sale and open houses. So we leverage that. We've grown it to well over 4,500 subscribers, and we have about an 18 to 22% open rate, which is really great. And we're consistent there too. So we send it out every Monday at 2:00 and every Friday about 2:00 as well. So we have a Monday version of our moves letter, and then the Friday version is more of like a lighter newsletter that just includes a lot of open houses going into the weekend. But overall, that's been circulated within our clientele and our database too. People like kick it over to new clients and say, hey, these are the people that we were telling you about. So same thing with like social media. Newsletters are just a great and constant reminder to all of your clientele, your sphere, your database. You're in real estate and think of you, but you're also providing value in different ways. It's not just limited to, here's a new restaurant or something. You're providing an abundance of just different information and keeping it interesting and engaging and educational along the way too. One thing I definitely wish that we did more of, and we don't do it enough, because like I think we just spend so much time in our business, like on the phone, not getting super creative with social media, but I hope that you guys can. Monica actually has been doing a really great job at this. So follow Monica Moves Philly if you can. But just providing knowledge and providing more experiences and maybe chatting with a lender and getting some information on the lending side, doing a did you know post, and just providing more data, statistics and information. People receive that really well too, and then it can get like reposted, so on and so forth. So we're definitely Instagram heavy. I realize I'm talking a lot about that, but it's just like it's our one platform that we do and we do well and that we're confident in. I know that a few people asked about Facebook and paid promoted or paid posts. To be honest and transparent, we don't really do too much paid marketing, but we will boost a listing on occasion. We work alongside our marketing specialist, Mackenzie, and she helps us formulate like what we need with the demographic that we're looking for. Typically, we have a good idea of like who's going to be like the end buyer and who's the consumer. So we'll take that into consideration. And Facebook's actually pretty easy to navigate. It takes a little bit and it takes trial and error too. Like we've definitely done a few ad campaigns that like were a flop and didn't produce any leads. But it's good for reach. And we haven't always gotten super quality leads from Facebook, but I think it just goes back to the reach and our clients, especially if it's a listing that we represent, our clients love that we're paying for that. It's a part of marketing dollars and just a part of our marketing package when it's appropriate. So I know a lot of agents who steadily use Facebook to promote their stuff. Again, like what works for you. Don't be afraid to try out a few different platforms, a few different, spend a little bit of money here and there if you'd like. But we've been successful just doing things organically because I think it just goes back to being consistent, and just being transparent and being honest and as who you show up as in your social media and your platforms. So
Brittany, can you share what platform are you doing your newsletter on? There's so many out there.
there are a lot. I know that there's like a few that are integrated with like CRMs and stuff. Although you should be using Command, you can easily do that. But we use MailChimp, which does integrate with Command. So it makes it pretty seamless and it's easy for client tracking and your database and just merging everything together.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think we covered like the majority of what we do, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think that gives you guys like a little bit of a snapshot into what we're doing. Is there anything that you guys want to learn about, know about, ask about? Fire away.
I would like, when you first started out, because I think it's so overwhelming as a brand new agent, right? Like you're learning everything, you're learning the paperwork, you're learning how to do a transaction. Oh, by the way, you have to post. Looking back, what's one thing you wish that you were better at starting your real estate business?
Using my database all the time more than social media posting for sure. I think like Brittany is naturally really good at social media, and that's like certainly not my strength. Some days I'll have like a really good run and I'll post some really cool, engaging stuff, and other days
Like,
or
tell me
other
what you
weeks.
posted on Sunday.
Oh
that had a
yeah,
really
yeah.
cool-
Like sometimes I'll post engaging things, and then I'll go like 4 or 5 days without posting. It's fine. I don't have a huge following, but I try to do stuff at least once or twice a week to feed into She Moves Philly to help build that.
Mhm.
Social media might not be everyone's cup of tea, but if you're looking to do it, you really should map it out like you map everything else out, right? Like Dana, I'm sure you're telling everyone in pro coaching that they should be time blocking. And if you're time blocking, then you should carve out 30 minutes of your day to put a post up and to engage with a bunch of other people's posts. And if you do that consistently, then you'll start to build your own following and you'll start to build your brand as well. So I think you just need to treat it like you treat everything else. It's part of your job. So
Yeah. And the more that you're consistent and the more conversations that you have, the more that you're going to see conversions too.
I can't even tell you how many people Brittany says, "Oh, that's my friend." And I'm like, "Huh? Have you ever met them in real life?" She hasn't. They're just her friends on social media, but she knows everything about them and they know everything about her. So
I frequently, and this was like pre-pandemic, and especially when I was getting started in the business, like I followed the Jack Barry method, if any of you know what that is. And it was like 15-minute conversations with people over coffee. And like, that was how I grew my database. I just got in front of people. It wasn't just me sitting behind the screen. A lot of times, like I even reached out to Gaurav, like Gaurav and I got coffee before he, became our OP. So I think it's a good vehicle for lead generation for sure. Beyond just the simple like posting, engaging in conversation, like take it one step further and say, hey, you want to get coffee because you're both runners, or you both love pizza, or you both share some kind of common denominator. That's what I did when I was first getting started, and I still do it now. I joke and I say like social media is like online dating for friendship, right? And clients.
and business partners.
That's how we met. What else? I think when I first got started, the one thing that I have never done, and now we're doing because we hired somebody to do it. Sometimes you're just better off hiring some help who's gonna, keep you in line and doing what you should be doing to help save time and just be more efficient. But planning out content, like if you can plan content, again, like Monica's really starting to do as well. So give them a follow and follow like what we're doing too. But mapping out content is something that I've never done. And to Dana's point, when you're first getting started, you feel like an octopus. You've got like tentacles everywhere, right? And I think if you are just mindful, what Britt said, you time block and you use platforms like Planoly is an easy and free platform to use to just like pre-schedule content and map it out, maybe like you have a birthday coming up, or there's some kind of special event that you want to promote, and that's not tomorrow, but maybe that's 3 weeks from now. Just being strategic about your posts, I think, is key, and that's something that I've never done, and in turn it made me so anxious on top of everything else that you needed to do for the day. So leverage different platforms. I know that there's Planoly, and there's a few others out there, none of which I can remember right now. Do you remember any of them? Just Planoly is what we really used.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure the names of the other ones.
But you can use something as simple as like a spreadsheet too. Like if you just go on Google Drive and plan it out, it doesn't need to be anything super sophisticated. But if you did want some help on like auto publishing, those platforms are free, easy to use. They have paid options too that might give you a little bit more like advanced access, but they're super helpful tools that will eliminate any excuses that you might create about like getting active on social media and ultimately using it consistently. So
yeah, and if you think you don't have content to post, like you can create content by resharing or reposting, as long as you're giving credit to other people's content.
Yeah.
So like our moves letter, really like the top 2 articles are always like new restaurants, foods, happenings, like things that are going on in Philly. We use the photo, we use a snippet from the article, create our own title, and direct it back to those articles. So like we're not creating that content every week, but we're finding it and then crediting it. So, and same with your social media posts, like Brittany was saying, you can plan out, I was saying time block every day, that's for engagement. But if you want, you could really plan out a day at the beginning of the month, every month, and plan your whole month ahead of posts. And even if you're only planning 2 posts a week, then you can fill it in with other content as things pop up, and you're not feeling as much pressure on the fly, like, saying, oh crap, I didn't post today, I got to figure it out. Like you'll have at least something filler, and then you can kind of fill in behind it as needed. So
yeah. And to Britt's point too, like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So don't be afraid to, borrow posts, give credit where it's due, but also like don't like make sure you have a theme and like it fits with your brand. Cause I think people who follow us know what they can expect to see on our social platforms. And when you get like, all over the place with things, sometimes you just lose engagement and overall following. So just be consistent in your posts and the type of content that you're sharing as well. I think that's key. And you'll see results over time too. So
I got a question. You guys talked a lot about just posting. And I was just curious if you guys are also sort of behind the scenes, aside from just posting, are you proactively sort of, I don't know, direct messaging, or maybe even like following people? Just was curious if there's other things you're doing kind of behind the scenes aside from posting.
yeah, I mean, and I think I'm answering your question, and if I'm not, just ask me again. But also Britt and myself, like we have access to our personal Instagrams, right? Like Brittany Moves Philly, Britt Moves Philly, Monica Moves Philly. But Britt and I, and then our marketing associate, we all have access to She Moves Philly. So if something comes in, one of us are like responding within like 0 minutes typically. And I think like that has helped. Like people are always surprised when they like hear like, hey, there's a human over there, and they responded pretty quickly. That's awesome.
and we also do take time out to go through and like engage with our followers. So when they post, cool family stuff or some big announcement, like we're always like, that's awesome. Or, we're sending a heart or a fire emoji to stories. And like, maybe it's not always, I think it has to be a mix of emojis and actual words, so people know you're not just like a robot hitting a thing.
Don't just hit,
But like if you're trying to plan your grid, a simple thing you can follow is like if you know about the Ford method, you can kind of do your own Ford and then post about that. So that's your family, occupation, recreation, dreams, right? So those are very easy 4 categories that you can kind of keep in rotation, right? So you can post about yourself, that would be your family, or, anything you're doing personally. You could do recreation, your hobbies. Those people love to see what we do outside of work. And you can talk about your dreams and occupation. So dreams could be like inspirational posts, or you just completed your vision board, or you're a realtor and your goal for the year is to close 3 million. Like, hey, I'm this far on my goal, how many more people can I help? Do you know anyone? Like that's a good one for and then for what was that, what am I missing? occupation? Obviously you post
Yeah.
about real estate.
Yeah,
That was the other
family,
one.
occupation,
Recreation,
dreams. Like it's a conversation. It's an acronym that we follow for like just everyday conversation with people. Another thing that Jack actually taught me that I still carry in my life today, and you can use that and apply it on your social media and use that as your philosophy and your strategy, and just again make it easy for yourself. Don't overcomplicate it. One thing that I do like using social media for is, and Britt alluded to this, but staying connected with people, because it's so hard when you're just like heads down in your business every day. Like, let's be honest, we're in a very high energy, we're exuding a lot of energy all day. At the end of the day, sometimes you just like want to crash and like not go out and socialize. But sometimes you like all the time you can leverage social media. Like it's a lens into your clients' lives or your follower and community's lives. So for example, if we see that a client just had a baby or just got married, we usually take that as an opportunity to not only comment, but go the extra mile, send them something like a She Moves Philly card or flowers. So it helps us capitalize on other opportunities beyond just like using social media, not basically, but just from an engagement standpoint. We'll take it a step further and like send them a little something, and then they're like surprised because it's just a meaningful touch and gesture. And it goes back to like, if you want to talk about like MREA, right, the 33 touch, which is one of our modes of doing that and ways.
Thank you.
You got it. So what else we got?
So at the beginning, when you were using social media, did you like, there's people I haven't talked to in like so many years that they'd be like, why are you talking to me, weirdo? Like, do you reach out to them like to get their address without being like creepy? Like, I'm trying to build a database without being like, I'm clearly reaching out to you because I do real estate now, but I am genuine and I do want to know how they're doing, but like, you don't want to come off weird.
I think that's a good question to ask. I mean, all of us have those limiting beliefs and like, the self-doubt, and you don't want to be creepy when it comes to like collecting that data and growing your database. You definitely want to keep filling it. I think rule of thumb, don't be creepy. Don't just come out of left field and ask them for their home address, because they're going to think like, oh, this person is trying to sell me something, right? Like, we don't ever want to come off that way. And if I do come off that way, I'll joke on myself and just say, I feel like a car salesman right now, but and sometimes it just kind of breaks the ice. I think the important thing to keep in mind is if you are asking for something, like, why, right? My go-to is typically, hey, like, as long as we had some kind of, mutual interest, common denominator, let's go get coffee. That information and that data comes over time. It's not like a quick sale. You're not going to get it immediately. And if you feel uncomfortable, like, we absolutely have to step outside of our comfort zone. But I think there are like some ways that are better than others to collect the information that you need, and keep doing that. Social media is one of our platforms for lead generation. I don't door knock, right? So like, I think there's several different ways to gather the information, grow your database. Social media is one of them. How are you obtaining that? Do what you're comfortable with. And it'll come over time. You don't have to get it like immediately, but like, keep that conversation going and you'll obtain it.
Thank you.
But you can use social media to creepily stalk and get birth dates and anniversaries,
Facebook,
and spousal information, and
so there's a lot of free data that you don't have to directly ask for, especially like personal information like home addresses. But yeah, there's like Facebook's, and mostly Facebook, I feel like, gives you the keys to the kingdom when you're a mutual friend of somebody or a friend of somebody. Instagram's a little bit more disguised and private. But you can definitely be resourceful. Like, when it comes to birthdays, like, our admins typically scour Facebook to find some data and birthdays, for example. So
I feel like that was such a big thing, like posting for everyone's birthday, like all your friends. But I feel like it just kind of has, like, at least for me, like, just drifted, like, oh, whoops, didn't look at that notification. But I'm trying to get back in that habit of like actually reach out.
yeah, well, I think there's a lot of noise on Facebook, and there's a lot of noise in general across many platforms. But I think one thing that you can do, and that is genuine, is like taking the time, make it a part of your lead generation every day. Just go up there and wish everybody a happy birthday. Some days you have 8 people, some days you have 2. And like, going back to that high school friend, sometimes it might like re-engage and like, reenact a friendship that you thought you lost or that you felt weird, like re-engaging with. But something as simple as saying happy birthday. Like I've had clients say like, oh my God, Britt, nice to see you. Thank you. Been meaning to reach out, was thinking about you. And it's like, oh, perfect timing, right? But just showing up and doing those little gestures, there's going to be a lot of noise, but if you do that little bit well, it can be a part of your lead generation too.
Yeah, I think too, instead of just writing like happy birthday or HBD, right? Like make it like a little bit more personal. Like, hey, remember the time we did this? Or I was thinking about that trip we took, or, stuff like that, that just kind of recalls a memory and maybe makes it a little bit more engaging. And then also, we send out birthday and house anniversary cards. So our admins at the first of the month go through the whole month's list and handwrite happy birthday cards, and we send a dollar scratcher, like a lottery scratcher. And then we also send out house anniversary cards every year, regardless of how many years that they've been in their house, they get a house anniversary card.
And we get onesies now too. So like new kid on the block onesies, or She Moves Philly got me this dope crib is like another onesie that we've been sending out to clients with newborns, and like we put them in settlement bags. We've had a lot of clients who are like 9 months pregnant and settling and on their due date lately, or we just drop it off, and just another way to say hi, hello, and congrats, and we're thinking about you. And our clients that we worked with 5 years ago, we're still in touch with because of social media, but because of like our efforts beyond that, we definitely couple the two, and again, just leverage it as another vehicle for us.
What would you recommend a new agent should do other than just posting to gain a following? Like right now, I only have 300 or so followers. So how did you guys get to that point that you're at now?
It took years. Like we're not an overnight company. I was actively working on Instagram since like inception of it in like 2013. So that's been an organic thing. And, we finally have that 10K following, but it's because of that organic growth over time. And I was never caught up in quantity. Again, going back to like the quality over quantity. I think it just be patient with yourself. It's definitely a gradual process and a gradual growth process. But over time, in the beginning, just be consistent, like we've already mentioned. Post what is important to you. And I think like the rest will follow. Like it sounds so simple and so basic and so broad too, but it's like the honest truth. Just like be yourself, show up, be an expert at what you do. And, you could fake it till you make it too, if you need. And I definitely did that in the beginning. I think we all did.
We used to do, you used to do the business like insights or highlights for like around Rittenhouse, right? You used to feature a business.
So when I first got started and I was growing my email newsletter, I walked around and I did actually canvas. So my background is in food and hospitality. I was working in small business, and I was pretty much canvassing for new restaurants and cafes to partner up with for my product that I was working with at the time. Fast forward to real estate, I did the same thing, just with a different product. So I did canvas. I went to a bunch of small businesses throughout Rittenhouse, because that's where our office was, and that's where I was living at the time. And of course, like, the average sales price is pretty sweet there. So I went around to small businesses, and I followed the Simon Sinek method of, who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. And I asked those 3 questions to small business owners. And, some were inviting, some were not so inviting, but over time you just, be consistent in your lead generation and your follow-up too. And over time, I ended up growing my database by just meeting business owners. And that alone translated to about $3.5 million in business my first year, which I did a total of just shy of 7 million my first year. So what I did was not only meet people, but I also I added value, and I offered to add them for free in my newsletter, which, I think when we all get started, we just like dump a bunch of the contacts that we have. So I just auto subscribed all of them to my MailChimp. But, I said, I have about, 500 to 1,000 followers, and I would love to showcase a new small business, like do a small business spotlight at the end of the newsletter every week, which I started doing. And again, that alone just translated to a lot of business, but also a lot of relationships, which compounded over time.
I think that's really huge. And I think when you're first starting out, it's something that gets overlooked for sure. Like how important relationships are, relationships with home inspectors, you know, with plumbers, electricians, decorators, painters, other realtors. It's okay to have friends that aren't KW. You could always bring them over. You know, and it's amazing when I get to do a deal with someone, you know, from 5 years ago when I was, you know, just getting started in the business, or being able to refer back, you know, a family friend, you know, that does electrical work. So, you know, if you're struggling, I would definitely say like to connect with people and have those, you know, 10 new contacts a day. Sharing services is a great way to do it too.
Yeah, you just never know who's going to need what at what time. And I think like I learned in a class at KW a few years ago, but I think it's like 80% of people use the realtor that like they most recently met. And they also reuse.
No, but
the same-
78% said they would reuse, but
And-
then
yeah.
80% don't. They
Oh,
use
yeah.
whoever they just met.
And they would reuse, right? So it's like just staying in touch with people. But also just like it's about speed sometimes too. So it's just like, you know, speed to market and how quickly are you meeting that person and intercepting that need and being the person to, you know, support it. So but talk to everybody, make it known that you have your license and you sell real estate and you help people do rentals too. Like Britt can elaborate, but she made a lot of money just on rentals alone. They are your 401k, which is like something that Boots Levinson once said. He's like the master, the guru of rentals, but they're your 401k. If you help a renter, especially when you're first getting started, they are easy, quick money, generally speaking. And over time, like if you stay in touch with them, they're going to end up buying eventually. So you get to like double pop it in a sense. And renters are everywhere. Everybody needs housing. They're definitely more abundant, especially when you're getting started. Like just rely on rentals for a little bit until you get your feet wet and you get more comfortable and you decide like, what do you want to do? And what kind of demographic are you going to live within? And like, what's your niche? Quick income, and you can do a lot of them. The turnover is pretty high. So
Yeah. I mean, I talked about that the other day on the prospecting call. I think a few of you were on, but it's really great. Low barrier to entry and easy practice. It's not as, you're not helping someone with the biggest purchase of their life, right? They're making a 1-year commitment to a property, and you know what I mean? So I feel like the stakes are lower. So your conversations can be a bit more natural when you're practicing and learning how to have real estate conversations with people. And then, you know, you also have content to share then. So you're seeing a lot of properties. So
Yeah.
you can take a quick pano of the property and then post about it. Same with open houses, right? Like I hosted multiple open houses a week, as many as I could actually when I first started, just to get practice and have as many real estate conversations as possible. So if you're not doing open houses, you're really missing an opportunity just to practice and to meet people and to build your database.
Yeah. And I think too, people like just don't know that like rental agents exist and also that they're free, similar to like, you know, being a buyer's agent, they don't cost you anything. So I think like adding that kind of value, sharing that kind of information on socials, it's just another way to drum up your brand and be the resource that people think of. There was one other thing, now I don't remember what I was going to say. Rats, now I forget what I was going to say, but it'll come back to me.
So we have a question from Alyssa. She said, do you have any advice on how to pick good hashtags?
I think do your research. It depends, like what kind of niche do you exist in? Like for us, we pick a lot of Philly-esque and like food cafe related hashtags and dogs. We've got another Brittany in the house. This is Dottie. Everybody meet Dottie. See, look, it brings a smile to everybody's face. We love animals. But yeah, the hashtags, like if we're sharing something real estate related, we'll share a lot of hashtags that are centered around various neighborhoods. So like hashtag Queen Village, hashtag Rittenhouse, hashtag West Philly, hashtag Grace Ferry. Like we pretty much max out our number of hashtags that you're allowed to use, which I think is like 30. and we just like cover all the neighborhoods. So it's like, who knows who's clicking on South Philadelphia or Fishtown? You just don't know. And we've had people also, Monica's a good example. Monica uses Queer Realtor, I believe. If that, is you and your niche and who you are, use the hashtag Queer Realtor. Monica has drummed up so much business from that hashtag alone because it's their niche and that's the community that they serve. And just being consistent with your hashtags as well. So it depends, what are you sharing at the time? What kind of post is it? What kind of information are you sharing? And, kind of couple that.
All right. So can you see this? So
It's-
I keep a note and of all of our hashtag groupings, and depending on the post, we use different ones.
Yeah.
And then you start to see where people are coming from and different, sorry, it keeps like flaring out, but there's like a lot. So we group them, and then depending on the post, I just go into my notes and grab these, and then I post them in the first comment after I post. So sometimes Brittany does like the ... and then post them in the caption thread. I post them in the comment, but it's up to you how you want to do it.
Yeah. And like, I used to share hashtags because I thought that it did help me get more reach, which it does, but we've scaled back on using hashtags just a little bit. So they're not going to hurt you if you don't use them, but they always help you either way. So, but think about like, the community that you want to serve and the niche that you want to carve out for yourself. I think that's going to help you like hyper focus, hyper concentrate, understand what kind of content that you want to share, but more importantly, like what kind of relationships do you want to have? Like the running community is so important to me. So when I first got started, I was like Run 215 and November Project and stuff like that. And that helped me like grow my sphere and who I was associating with over time. So you're welcome, Melissa.
I think that's so huge, like trying not to be the realtor for everyone, because you can't make everybody happy, right? So figuring out what works for you and connecting with people that are like you, that have similar interests.
Yeah.
That's
so
definitely
hard when you're getting started. Like it's easy for us to say now, right? Like we fire people. We fire people all the
We're
time.
just like, no,
like you're not a good fit.
Yeah.
But when you're just getting started and it's like scary and you're trying to build your database, you're like, I can't say no to anyone. And then they start to run you ragged, and then you learn your lesson, and then you start being selective.
Yeah.
But remember, you can refer out and you can make 25%. So if you have an initial conversation, you're like, this isn't for me, or this isn't my niche, or I really don't know what they need or how to help them. You're not servicing them by taking that business. Like you're not
Yeah.
like you're using them as a guinea pig to learn some new part of the business, and that's not fair to them. So refer them out and make your 25% and move on to your next client.
And I think too, Kate, I think you mentioned that, or you asked something similar to this. But when you feel uncomfortable asking somebody for something such as like data, when you are just associating with people that you feel like you would actually bond with, like you could just be yourself and it's like, oh, this is my profession. When you're ready, like, like holler, right? But it makes that interaction just a lot more authentic and like comfortable. And it feels like you're talking to a friend if you have like, again, the common denominator and mutual interest. When you're just like, throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks, sometimes it makes it a little bit disingenuous and inauthentic. And I think people sniff that out right away, and it makes it a little bit harder to develop those genuine relationships and in turn, like get what you need, which is, maybe a real estate transaction. So just stay mindful of those things. And I think it just makes it easier to grow along the way.
The other thing that's really helpful too, guys, especially when you're new, think about hosting an event and then say you're going to mail out invites. And that's a real easy way to help collect mailing addresses. Or as we move into the holidays, like I'm getting together my holiday gift, list. I want to send out, holiday cards this year. I'd love to have your address to add to my collection.
Yeah. Oh, I remember what I wanted to say earlier. So Britt mentioned open houses and how frequently she did them when she first got started. I did too, and I hosted a minimum of 3 per week. It was exhausting. I don't know how I did it, but I feel like you just go into grind mode when you first get started. So I did like a twilight on a Thursday from 5 to 7, and then I would do either a Saturday or a Sunday between like 10 and 12, I wanted to hit actually like sellers who are going out like early morning grocery store or farmer's market. So my objective was always like meet more sellers because leads, listings, leverage. And even if your open house is unsuccessful, I always viewed open houses as an opportunity to get to know the inventory, understand a neighborhood more, just network, but also as a marketing opportunity. It takes you a minute or less. Facebook or Instagram gives you 15 seconds actually for a story, or more if you need. But to like do a quick pan or say, hey, like I'm at, 123 Main Street from 12 to 2 today. It's your daily reminder to people that you're in real estate. And when people see like you're constantly out there hustling, like you naturally prove yourself to be the expert, and you don't need all of the thousands of followers. They're like, wow, this person's showing up and doing the work every single day. And you showing up and hosting the open house, like it just serves as a constant reminder to people. And it's 100% always a marketing opportunity. Even if you don't meet one person physically at the open house, more stuff is happening, whether it's like, we all want instant gratification. It's happening whether you realize it or not. It's just a gradual thing.
Hey guys, first I want to say both of you are awesome. I love how you use social media. It's fun, it's engaging, it's not fake salesy. And I know a lot of people try to like tap into algorithms, but I feel like you guys have built a community like pretty naturally, which is awesome.
Thank you.
My question is in regards to your podcast, like what'd that look like? When you guys had the idea, how'd you put it into action? Or was it one day you guys were just like, let's pick up a microphone and do a podcast together?
I think we were drinking wine, and I said,
that's what I was guessing.
A lot of our great ideas come during wine drinking. But no, I think we always joke that someone should follow us around, or we should strap a GoPro onto our heads and just, because there's just so much weird crap that happens throughout the day, throughout the week, and in our lives. And so
there's a lot of seriousness, but a lot of silliness too that just happens.
Yeah.
And we want to capture that.
So anyway, we just like telling stories, and I think it's fun, and it was just another way for us to hang out. So that's it.
And I think like people have come to know us as the Brits, like that's talk about hashtag, like we've been using that. But we're like constantly together and we have a lot of fun, and there's like a lot of conversations that we have that we constantly say we should be, talking about this on a podcast, because we find ourselves repeating it pretty frequently to people. Like we get a lot of the same questions. So that was like a catalyst too.
Now we can be really cool and say, just listen to our podcast.
It's on the podcast, bro. Like,
do you guys listen to your podcast?
No.
It's nails on a chalkboard. We don't listen to it. And we have
our biggest nightmare.
Oh my God.
It's so bad. I'm really comfortable talking, but it takes me a second to get there. So like Britt has to start it every time, because I get just like, I'm a nervous ninny when we first kick it off. But so it's still in its infancy. We're about 4 episodes in now.
Mm-hmm.
We try to record once or twice a week, no more than 30 minutes. We want to keep them short, sweet, and brief. But we are trying to like have a good variety of, value that we're adding, not just like us, rambling for 30 minutes. We had like our first episode was an intro. I don't know if you guys have listened to it or not. We had our attorney on. A common question is like, how did you, form your partnership, and what are some like do's and don'ts, and some tips. So we had our attorney Stefan on. We had Monica on the podcast because Monica is just such a special person in our world when it comes to like how we met. Monica was my first mentee. And then, Monica's now on the team as like an OG agent. So we shared a lot of that, but, it's real estate and friendship is like literally our life motto. And that's like our podcast brand, which has been received well. So it's a conversation starter with clients too. So talk about like the triple whammy. You not only have a podcast to broadcast on, now you're promoting it across social media, but it's a conversation starter. Like I can't tell you how many clients, even like that I never expected would listen to our podcast. We're like, oh my God, I listened and like so proud of you. And, it's just so cool to like give an alternative lens into our lives. And we do that via the podcast. So we recently started that and it's going well.
All right, guys, we have 9 minutes left. I want to make sure anyone that has a burning question gets to ask it. You can feel free to put it in the chat, or you can turn on your microphone. But does anyone else have any other questions that they'd love to ask Brittany and Britt? All right, Carly. She said, when first starting out, do you recommend having a separate Instagram account for your real estate or promoting on your personal page until you gain more business?
We didn't separate. So Brittany, when she started She Moves Philly, was She Moves Philly Instagram. And yeah, we didn't do separate. When I was elsewhere before I joined She Moves Philly, and I only had one Instagram as well. So it's totally up to you. I think this is what we were kind of talking about in the beginning of like, we are the same person on our social media that we are in person. And I think it helps a lot with our clients because when they start working with us, they feel like they already know us. They already know our voice. They know how we carry ourselves, and they tend to know a lot about our personal lives too. And I think it just helps them feel connected. So personally, no, but if you're a very private person and for whatever reason you feel like you need to keep those things separate,
Yeah.
like sure, it just, you have to keep up with both, right?
Yeah. And like I had a friend who was like an influencer on Instagram, and I met her at some kind of like influencing event. They're cool too. So if you like start really getting involved with like the social media community, they're like okay. But they did help when it came to like getting a jump start on your business and like showing up as like a physical person instead of just like this internet image. But the girl that I met, like she was new to real estate. She's over in South Jersey, and she had like 9,000 followers, and she didn't feel comfortable like changing her tune, changing her brand. And that's okay, you know, but I think like that's a gold mine, and that's also just like a huge audience to like broadcast your new journey to. Like how cool is that? But I think the insecurity, right, and the limiting beliefs, like they play into things, and like people sniff that out real quick. But just be confident and show up. And I think blending the two is such a beautiful thing, but it's not for everybody, and that's okay. You know, do what you're comfortable with, especially because understanding some people might do this as a part-time job, might have a full-time job, so there's like sensitivity to it. You'll know what you need to do and when, but we always emphatically recommend, like if you can, just blend the two, because it just makes it so much more fun. And like you become again that resource. Like people not only ask us real estate questions, but they'll hit us up all the time. Hey, we're in town, or like, hey, where should we go get dinner? We're hosting a party of 6, right? Like, or like, what's a cool wine bar? So you get questions beyond your trade, and I think it adds a lot of color and vibrance and community. So
And that you're top of mind, right? They think of you.
Yeah.
it's a contact sport, my friends. Numbers game, contact sport.
Anyone else have any other burning questions they'd love to ask? It could be a silly question too.
We love silly questions.
Oh, I can tell you while people are formulating their questions, if you're going to start using your personal account, just go back and scrub all your bullshit you posted in college, like all your drinking crap. And
Nobody wants to see that.
if you know, we all learn and grow. If you posted some dumb comment or reposted something that now you're embarrassed about, just get rid of it. Like just remove it. People get bored and they start going down the rabbit hole, and then you don't want them to associate that with your current. Like we all learn and grow and change, and that's okay. So just scrub it if you're going to use your personal.
Yeah, there's like a quick reputation, like as quickly as you build it, like one false move or old move can like take you down right away. So just be mindful, be genuine and transparent, but like have some censorship.
Yeah.
Get rid of those X's.
Oof, I wish that was an option.
Just
Delete
erase.
all.
Yeah, erase. That'd be nice.
Angle I use that I probably shouldn't use, but when I talk to people, it's like they'll say, "Oh, I saw like you're at an open house," or like I saw your like kind of obnoxious thing that I do, and I'm like, yeah, like I really am not like a big social media person. Like I do theater and I sing, and I just always thought like posting myself would be like, oh, isn't she great? So I kind of like start off with that, like, oh, I'm not, but then they're like, no, like it's really interesting, like it's actually helpful because I didn't know that using an agent for a rental was free. I was like, oh, that's great.
And it's like, it's cool. Like people want to get to know you. Like, I think that's what's going to keep like real estate alive is like, again, the human component, like working with somebody who's not a robot, who has other interests, who they can trust. Cause I think like who you are and what you do translates to trust and honesty. But people like get interested in you. Like there's a reason why we have so many followers, and they're reciprocated too. It's like we're interested in people. Like people are so interesting. They do creative things. You learn a lot from others. And I think like if you do something and you do it confidently and with courage every day, like people love seeing that, and own that. And hey, if you need real estate, if you have real estate needs, hit us up too.
Yeah, what you said about being an octopus is like, so it hit me. I was like, that is what I am right now. Like starting off, because you're so right. Like I post on social media, but like it is not time blocked. I'm just like willy-nilly, like, oh gosh, I'm at a rental. Let's just make sure we take that video. But then like making sure you set time to like, no, like really know your agreement to sale queen, like get her done. So
And that's where like time blocking comes in. And like when you start doing transactions, like you're gonna like trim the fat right away. I think when you get started, you need to like go wide and cast a really wide net. Like I did the same thing. Like there's not I knew almost instinctively like where I wanted to spend my time, but I was still open-minded. Like I did try door knocking once upon a time. I just like felt so out of my comfort zone and like super salesy. But there's a variety of things that I recommend everybody tries when they first get started, but trim the fat after a while, right? Like don't try something for a week and determine that it sucks. Like give it a try for 2 to 3 months and be consistent there too, because that's how you're going to start seeing results. But you have to like try a lot of things when you first get started, and then narrow down and choose where you want to spend your time. But like those classes with KW, like Vicky Carey, we sing her praises every single day, Mama Vicky. We wouldn't be where we are unless we took her agreement of sale class like 3 different times at 3 different phases of our business. Like once before I got started, another time like a year and a half in the business. One time I needed a crash course because I really made a big mistake and I had to go to Vicky and we relearned a certain clause. And then a third time, right? Like, and we constantly like, it'll put you to sleep at night, but it's great reading material. And when you like know your contracts, you can just educate people beyond what they ever anticipated.
Just
And
mentally prepare for being sued one day.
yeah,
Because when it happens, you're gonna poop your pants.
especially when you start doing business, but like know your shit and you can avoid the lawsuit real fast.
It's a story for another time.
day.
Maybe we'll tell it at the picnic if we have enough water.
sounds good. And at least Mama Vicky, she's like a Northeast aunt. She's so funny. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, just watching this at nighttime, but at least you're sassy and it's enjoyable.
She always has her stack of files
Her like
and
real
she's ready to
estate
whip you into
Bible.
shape.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to be you when I grow up. You are who I want to be, right? Surround yourself with the right people. Vicky's one of them. But yeah, we are grateful that everybody's here and gave us this time to, share a little bit about what we do. I think there's so much more that you can learn beyond just like what we're doing. It's merely the tip of the iceberg. But if there's anything that anybody needs along the way, you can find us on socials. She Moves Philly. We're Brittany Moves Philly, Britt Moves Philly. And then our emails are just our names at She Moves Philly. So hit us up if you want to talk one-on-one, but otherwise we appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you, ladies, so much.
Thank you,
Hey,
friend.
Dana.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.